Thank you, Don. Thank you, Don Bongo. Thank you for tuning in. Uh, it's wonderful having you guys. Good afternoon. I know it's afternoon time here in the great state of Texas, here in the United States. Um, how you guys doing this morning? How you guys doing this morning? How you guys doing this morning? Davido, thank you. Hello, nice seeing you, Mortis. Thank you. Oh, wonderful. I will be broadcast live here from the great state of Texas and on my YouTube as well. So either way, you should be able to get me. Thank you somewhere for joining in, and remember to share. Make sure you hit the sharing button so that we get many people to join us. And remember that I'm also will be broadcast live on YouTube as well. So make sure you hit the share button and make sure you subscribe. And if you happen to be on my YouTube, I want to thank you for tuning in. There is a lot of things that we're going to be talking about. I want to thank of you that for all of you and for all the wonderful job that you're doing, and for the people of Southern Cameroon and all of those in the diaspora, those at home, those in ground zero. We thank all of you the wonderful job that you are doing for the people of Southern Cameroon to to disengage the forceful relationship, the forceful marriage that have been entrusted to impose upon the people of Southern Cameroon. I want to take a moment to thank all of you that are tuned in, and if you join in, make sure you share, and that is where to move forward. want to thank Samuel about his watching right from South Africa. And I want to thank you so much for hearing from you, especially in South Africa. And you know, fellow brothers, those here in the United States, those in Great Britain, those in Canada, those in Belgium, Germany, Italy, Switzerland, Ground Zero, China, Russia, South America, the entire continental state of the United States. Wherever you are, we have one common good. The common good is the total liberation of the people of Southern Cameroon, and that they can have their own home, a place they call home. There's never an important thing that you will call except the place you call home. Imagine you have your home and you are being managed by someone else. That is a painful feeling, that you must have this painful feeling that you have your home and someone has to manage your home. The people of Southern Cameroon, since the age of maturity, but yet they are being managed by another implanted terrorist government on behalf of the people of Southern Cameroon, as though they are incapable to manage themselves. If you look historically, the people of Southern Cameroon is the first in West Africa to have an elected government officials and a transfer of power from one elected officials to the next elected officials. That is a historical fact that people often not quoted. When Jongu Foncha or Dr. Endele was elected the first Prime Minister of Southern Cameroon, it was well accepted. There was no fighting, there was no war, there was not absolutely a calm environment. But when Jongu Foncha became the next Prime Minister, Endele handed over power to Jongu Foncha. There was no fighting. It was a harmonious relationship. But that's often people don't recognize, that the people of Southern Cameroon has demonstrated an elected government officials than any other country in West African region. But yet, the people are still not free. The people are still living under the brutal regime of Pobia, despite the broad-based demonstration all over the world. Signal that the people of Southern Cameroon want to be left alone. That could be an indication that the world must take these considerations. But unfortunately, so long as it doesn't affect those of the upper class race as they consider themselves, and that is why the slaughtering of the people of Southern Cameroon continue to expand, because they superimpose a terrorist government onto the people of Southern Cameroon. United States has a great role to play. British pay a deaf ear as though nothing is happening. The British government, we know that there is debate in the House of Commons, in Parliament, but the British Prime Minister, Theresa May, pay a deaf ear as though nothing is happening. One will expect the British government to immediately, because despite the attachment and the relationship that coexists with the people of Southern Cameroon and the people of Great Britain. But unfortunately, it is less priority to the British Prime Minister, Theresa May. There was a broad-based demonstration throughout the entire world yesterday to demonstrate that it wasn't just the people of Southern Cameroon. The people of Britain sympathize with the people of Southern Cameroon. United States, Great Britain, Canada, and elsewhere around the world demonstrate that the people of Southern Cameroon, they want to live alone. That is what they need. They need to live alone. They do not need La Republique to dictate on behalf of them. They are capable, they are well educated, they are ingrained in education. Why can't they govern themselves? Why must they live together with the terrorist government of La Republique? That is often the question we ask the world community. Well, let's look at some of the demonstrations that happened yesterday across the globe. That was in USA. That was the acting president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonian. That was the demonstration going on in Washington, D.C. And you have our comrade, Eric Tato, and our acting president. That was the demonstration that was happening across the world. Let's go to further. In Texas, the deliberation was marked by demonstrations. This is all demonstration. This particular demonstration is what is hitting the internet. That was Great Britain. That the British citizens stood firmly outside and asking what is wrong with the British government. There is one thing, one question that is simple, clear. Let go the people of Southern Cameroon. This is what the people want. Recognize them as a people. That you recognize them not as attachment to La Republique, but as separate entity. And support the immediate government of the people of Southern Cameroon. Promote the democratic government where the people have. Promote it for a length of period of time, within 15, 10 years, whatever. And this transition will move forward. The people of Southern Cameroon don't even need an extensive education on how to govern themselves because they have demonstrated this spirit of self-government. They demonstrate under Jungkook Foncha. They demonstrate under Dr. Endele. They demonstrate under Ngunjua. Why must the people of Southern Cameroon live under the umbrella of the terrorist government of La Republique? The people of Southern Cameroon was voted by the United Nations. They voted, recognized them as a sovereign people, as a defined people within a geographical boundary. But why must they live together with La Republique? That is one question that often people ignore. And that is why the murdering and the slaughtering continue to prevail. Because people felt in absolutely terms that we must be forced to live together with La Republique, despite the fact that we are two separate entities. In 1960, when the United Nations voted to recognize the people of La Republique, Southern Cameroon was not part of that decision. Whereas in 1961, the people of Southern Cameroon was not part. The obvious question, why must they be forced together? Why can't the British government recognize that they are moving forward to recognizing the people of Southern Cameroon as a separate entity? The demonstration cannot, it's not going to stop, it's going to persist. It's going to persist so long as the people of Southern Cameroon remain under repressive system of the neighboring country, La Republique du Cameroun. The people want a self-government. The people want to remain them independent. The people want their own children to live under the umbrella of their own people. They do not in any circumstances want to live with the terrorist government of La Republique. The world turned a blind eye because they seem not aware of reality. Why must the British government remain adamant as though nothing is happening? It's simple. Recognizing the people of Southern Cameroon as a separate entity and that let them move forward with their nation. La Republique has no relationship with the people. The people have demonstrated worldwide more than any other nations has demonstrated. The people of Southern Cameroon has demonstrated worldwide. Why must they be forced to live together? It's just like if we can recognize that people can separate. If people got married and the court recognized that they can have the power to separate, why they can't the people of Southern Cameroon separate? If the British government can separate from the European Union, if Canada has voted twice to separate from the The French-speaking Canadian has voted twice to separate. Why can't the people of Southern Cameroon let go of the Republic and leave alone? That is obvious questions. That is the obvious questions. Why must they be imposed? That is a demonstration that was going on to mark the first anniversary of the adoption of the cabinet of the people of Southern Cameroon. Seseko, Anko, and the rest. They were picked up in Nigeria, despite the fact that the United Nations law forbidding La Republique to extradite them to the neighboring country. And we talk about Nigeria. Nigeria is a signatory of the Geneva Conventions. But they fail in absolute. They work with the terrorist government of the neighboring country, La Republique, to extradite the cabinet of the people of Southern Cameroon to the terrorist government of La Republique. United States is planning to send military to help the people of Congo. The essence is because the world turned a blind eye over the reality. Because when the world turned a blind eye over the reality, what else be the next happening? The chaotic scene. And that is why we are seeing around the globe. Because the world doesn't want to speak the truth. The world don't want to recognize the truth. And because the world doesn't want to recognize the truth and foster the truth, they want to turn a blind eye to foster their own personal egoistic. And that is why we're having this trouble spot all over the world. Because the world doesn't want to see the truth, but they want to see the opposite of it. And that is why chaotic sin become part of the social world and the social norms. International community has failed. International community has failed to stop the genocide in Luanda and to stop the genocide in the Southern Cameroon. That is a demonstration. This is not a Southern Cameroon. This is Southern Cameroon, but they are not Southern Cameroon citizens. Those are the people, the world community, sympathizing with the people of Southern Cameroon. As you can see, the demonstration, the world ignore. Of course, the world ignore because they want to support the reality. And that is why they continue massacre. This is Southern Cameroon. This is a young child that was shot yesterday. Yesterday, despite the demonstration going on, La Republique terrorist government is still performing, eliminating the young youth of the people of Southern Cameroon. This was shot yesterday. He was shot. Why must we be superimposed with La Republique? Our people in absolute term doesn't in any circumstances want to live with La Republique. Worldwide, broad speaking, the people of Southern Cameroon do not in any circumstances want to live with La Republique. And that is what they want. And that is what they deserve. Why must the world believe that we must live with La Republique? Why? 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 Why must the world believe that we must live with La Republique? It is imperative, and that our people deserve a home that is supervised by their own people, and that a government that is answerable to them, a government that is respect to the people and not the terrorist government of La Republique. This is our young citizens. This is our young child. He was killed by La Republique. Of course, La Republique is preserving their own children. It's preserving their own territory. It's preserving. But our people become the slaughterhouse because we must superimpose that La Republique must be the deciding force in the people of Southern Cameroon. And that is why the citizens are being broadly murdered elsewhere. In Canada, it wasn't exceptional. In Canada, the demonstration still spearhead about the people of Southern Cameroon, echo the same messages. That was the broad messages worldwide. In Canada was not exception. In Canada, a demonstration was inspired about the people of Southern Cameroon. We shall come to hear the message, and that a TV broadcast in the Southern Cameroon, about the ongoing crisis in Southern Cameroon. The fact is clear. The people of Southern Cameroon do not in any circumstances want to live with the neighboring country, La Republique. And the world can simply, in 1-2 sentences, recognize it. Why is it so hard for the world community to recognize the people of Southern Cameroon as a separate entity? They are a separate entity. And recognize them and say, it is too difficult for the world to stand and say, I recognize the people of Southern Cameroon as a sovereign entity. I recognize them and that they can move forward with their deliberations. That is all. And this massive killing that's being executed by La Republique, it will cease to exist. And human and nation building began to coexist. Fellow brothers and sisters, we are at war. We are at war. The cosmetic that people are implanted, thinking that they are solving the solutions, they are not. Because when the people fail to, when the world community ignore, because they don't want to accept the reality, they want to recognize the fact that doesn't exist. And when they failed in this aspect, La Republique is spending a heavy amount of money bribing lawyers here in the United States. Because they don't want to accept the reality. They don't want to accept the truth. That is why law firms here in the United States, are being secured by the terrorist government. Remember, when people's destiny is inspired by the people, there is nothing that can stop it. They can only delay, but they will never stop the people's destiny. And that is why I am giving this message that the people's destiny will never be stopped. No matter what they hire billions of lawyers, the most top Harvard lawyers in this planet, the people's destiny is their will and shall prevail. Take this and mark this my word. Still demonstration. That's still the demonstration yesterday, worldwide, broadly speaking. That was the demonstration about the people of Southern Cameroon, that they want to remain their self-government. They want to have their government. The government that is responsible to their own people. A government that is defined by the people. A government that the people want to speak and stand on behalf of the people. And that is why it's a broad demonstration to show the world that they remain silent as though nothing is happening. This demonstration implies that the people of Southern Cameroon do not in any circumstances want to live with La Republique. Fellow brothers, we are at war. Fellow brothers in ground zero, when you meet La Republique, understand that you are meeting an enemy of the people of Southern Cameroon. Since the world turned a blind eye over our people, we will never turn a blind eye over our people. We will stand together and we shall overcome. No matter whether they are Harvard-graduate lawyers in the top universities, whether from the preceding law school, whether they graduate from whatever, but the people of Southern Cameroon destiny will never be delayed or distorted, no matter whatever the circumstances. Each day, the spirit of self-determination inspire the people that La Republique will never decide the future of people of Southern Cameroon. That was the UK demonstration. That was the UK demonstration. That was the UK. The problem of Africa is about one particular country, France. As you see this guy, that is the president of France. That is the president of France. Imagine that this guy traveled to Nigeria. This guy, the beginning of this problem, this guy traveled to Nigeria to instigate Nigeria to form a buffer zone with Chad. This guy traveled to Nigeria to form a buffer zone with Chad against the people of Southern Cameroon that are fighting for injustice. Because France is more interested of the mineral resources that is in Southern Cameroon. Their petroleum that they want to drill. The petroleum they want to drill. The gas they want to exploit. That is why the main focus is not about the indigenous people of the Southern Cameroon, but their main concern is the material in Southern Cameroon. And that is why France government is more concerned about the decent people of Southern Cameroon. I am here to let the world know that the people have got enough of it. The people have got enough of it. That is Emmanuel Macron, the French president. They are more interested whether the indigenous, imagine the people, over 5,000 people has been murdered in Southern Cameroon territory. Over how many million are in Nigeria? How many have died? How many are living in the forest as I'm speaking? Women deliver children, twins, in the midst of the forest without medical professions to provide necessary assistance for their survival. Some bleed to death. Imagine a woman bleeding to death while giving a birth to a child. Because the world community, especially the French government, are more concerned with the mineral deposit in Southern Cameroon rather than the indigenous people themselves. And that is why French president has the audacity to travel to Nigeria and secure Nigeria government to support a buffer system. That is why Nigerian government helped with the adoption of the leader of the Southern Cameroon and sent to this government and in all the Geneva Conventions about the refugee. One will expect the world community to even issue a condemnation, but yet the world community remains silent as though nothing is happening. Because this guy, as I'm speaking, he might be in charge. He might be in charge to ask the Chadians to send their troops in Southern Cameroon because they want to force the people of Southern Cameroon to be part of La Republique so that their easy access to the exploitation of the raw material in Southern Cameroon be part of the hegemony of the French government. Because African race are the worst race and that they have no life, but they must be exploited. But I am here in this wonderful great state of Texas. I am bringing this attention to the fellow American citizens that you may see France as a goodwill relationship and you may see the atrocity going on in Africa. One will begin to ask questions. Why is this in Africa? It's because of the French destabilizing. The United States is preparing to send the military into Congo because France is involved in there. France is involved in everywhere in part of Africa, the atrocity. Let's listen to. When you listen to his message, you will believe that he's an honest person, that he's speaking and he's going to do something in Africa. But their interest is more a priority than the indigenous people of Southern Cameroon.
J'ai eu Paul Biya au téléphone avant de venir à l'Union africaine. D'abord parce que je savais qu'il ne serait pas présent. Comme je visitais un de ses voisins, il était important que...
He says he did telephone Paul Biya. That is the individual.
Nous ayons un échange. Écoutez, nous avons parlé des grands sujets en cours. Le Cameroun a clairement un défi qui est la cohésion, la stabilité de l'État.
Yes.
Nous avons les tensions qu'il y a dans la région anglophone. Et là aussi,
that is the French president.
Mon soutien au gouvernement pour qu'il puisse justement aller vers la stabilité. Je pense que la stabilité va aussi vers...
He wants to stabilize Cameroon as though the people of Southern Cameroon are animals. They have been squandered and they want to implant into the neighboring country, La Republique. Remember, United Nations, when they voted in 1961, let me bring the document again. I'm going to be coming back to that document. That was the document that voted in United Nations. Remember that French has always against the people of Southern Cameroon. The French collided with all the French colonies in Africa and those in Europe and they ignore not to recognize the people of Southern Cameroon as a nation. But unfortunately, overwhelmingly, they voted to recognize the people of Southern Cameroon. That is a fact. France is more concerned about raw material than the indigenous people. Listen to
les éléments de pluralisme, parfois de décentralisation qui permettent de régler ces problèmes et ces tensions.
They're talking about decentralization because it's a French system. Decentralization. No, we do not want decentralization. We do not. Either you stay on yours and let our people. Our people are enough to govern themselves. We don't need La Republique to live together in any circumstances. We do not need La Republique. Let La Republique remain and stay where they are and let our people go alone. Let our people go alone. Our people deserve our own territory, our own material, our own government. We do not need La Republique. Decentralization. What decentralization? That is why he traveled to Nigeria. He went to Nigeria to seek Nigeria to send their troops to send the Southern Cameroon that are residing in Nigeria. And he traveled to Chad to ask the Chadian president to send the Chadian soldier to Southern Cameroon to force the citizens. And that is why it's going on. Because the more they secure the Southern Cameroon, the more they have access to the raw material that is being deposited in Southern Cameroon. So that France can have easy access. Because with the English system, it's difficult for the French government to exploit. But with the French, they can easily manipulate. And that is why he is seeking the Chadian to intervene in Southern Cameroon. He's seeking Nigeria. And that is why the leaders of the cabinet that is demonstrating worldwide against the injustice of the French in Africa. I am here to speak that Africa needs to let France go. Africa needs to let go France. Africa needs to let go France. That is the spirit. Let go France. France has nothing to offer in Africa as a whole. Not in a part of the world that can benefit. That it is the interest of France that the world has benefit because of France. France is an exploitatory nation. France doesn't merit. For those of you who are living in France, I can assure you that France is the worst in Africa. And that if we continue to have France relationship, let's allow France to concentrate on the French-speaking Africans. But we, the English-speaking, we do not share eye and eye with the France. We do not. Let the French colonies continue to deal with France. But our people of the English expression, we want to stay alone. We don't want to be destabilized by Emmanuel Macron. There has never been a good relationship. Their interest is more of destabilizing Africa than the good of Africa. Listen to him more. Listen to him more.
Ce dont la région a besoin, c'est de stabilité. Et ce dont la région a besoin, c'est d'ouverture, de trouver les bons modèles de régulation. C'est pas au président de la France de le dire, mais d'accompagner toutes ces réformes de décentralisation, de liberté régionale qui sont...
Decentralization. They dictate what kind of government they have to have. But they must do that in African French speaking because they choose to remain slavery of France. But our people will not succumb to those slavery. Our people will not. So the people of Southern Cameroon must move forward with their sovereignty. They must move forward with their self-identity. They must move forward. I am speaking here in this great nation that we must stand as one people. We must let go La Republique. I know there are certain individuals that are eating milk from La Republique, and that is why they don't want to let go. We must have to have a choice, and that choice is to let go and we start building our own nations. We build with the spirit of togetherness, spirit of love, and that is the only way we can move forward. Because we continue to rely on this French disintegration, then we will never move forward. Fellow brothers and sisters, I can assure you that we can live together with the French policy. Absolutely. I remember, if you have ever got an experience with the French, then you will not ever have the time to even stand and speak. Remember, when I traveled, I had to travel to Charles de Gaulle Airport. And you can see the racial profile of the French as they approach you within the airport. And you can envisage, because they look at you more than a human being. Fellow brothers, we must overcome. We must let go la République. We must let go.
Offerte dans un cadre national clair. Je pense que beaucoup de ces sujets aussi peuvent trouver une issue favorable par une meilleure intégration régionale. Et je l'ai dit, moi je crois beaucoup à la force de l'intégration régionale, pour le Nigeria comme pour le Cameroun, au sein de la...
You listened. You might not be very vested in French, but because that is why he traveled to Nigeria, to secure the Nigeria. Because Nigeria, one will expect the Nigeria to have a good judgment, a good sound mind, despite the relationship that coexisted with the people of Southern Cameroon. But Nigeria choose, under the current president, I'm sure the people of Nigeria is thinking about whether he should be the next president of Nigeria. I am urging the Nigeria to make a good decision, whether that's the person they choose, because our cabinet were adopted and in all the Geneva Conventions and sent to this terrorist government of La République. Yesterday marked 1 year anniversary of their adoptions. Fellow brothers, we cannot ignore and we cannot succumb to that, but we must stand firmly about the people, our spirit. You all see the infamous demonstration, these images. You all know Donald Trump. He spoke to the United Nations. One will expect the United Nations to be more proactive. Let's listen to what his message he said.
Security and prosperity. Too often the focus of this organization has not...
Give me 1 minute, I'll be back. That is President Donald Trump speaking. Let's listen to his message.
Been on results, but on bureaucracy and process. In some cases, states that seek to subvert this institution's noble aims have hijacked the very systems that are supposed to advance them. For example, it is a massive source of embarrassment to the United Nations that some governments with egregious human rights records sit on the UN Human Rights Council.
What he said is true. You can imagine that under the current Secretary General of the United Nations, that Cameroon with his injustice, aggressive human rights violation, he has the audacity to add Cameroon into the human rights record as a member of the United Nations. That is the most devastating. One will expect that the United Nations be more forceful, but instead, Cameroon was admitted without conditions because the current United Nations Secretary General is living on the salary that is paid by La République and the salary paid by the United Nations. That is why he became the most corrupted body on this planet. Let's listen to the President of the United States.
The United States is one out of 193 countries in the United Nations. And yet we pay 22% of the entire budget and more. In fact, we pay far more than anybody realizes. The United States bears an unfair cost burden, but to be fair, if it could actually accomplish all of its stated goals, especially the goal of peace, this investment would easily be well worth it. Major portions of the world are in conflict, and some, in fact, are going to hell. But the powerful people in this room, under the guidance and auspices of the United Nations, can solve many of these vicious and complex problems. The American people hope that one day soon the United Nations can be a much more accountable and effective advocate for human dignity and freedom around the world. In the meantime, we believe that no nation should have to bear a disproportionate share of the burden, militarily or financially. Nations of the world must take a greater role in promoting secure and prosperous societies in their own regions. That is why in the Western Hemisphere, the United States has stood against the corrupt, destabilizing regime in Cuba and embraced the enduring dream of the Cuban people to live in freedom. My administration recently announced that we will not lift sanctions on the Cuban government until it makes fundamental reforms. We have also imposed tough, calibrated sanctions on the socialist Maduro regime in Venezuela, which has brought a once thriving nation to the brink of total collapse. The socialist dictatorship
This is the problem that is reigning, because we have a United Nations that is the most corrupted officials. Let's follow up, see. That is the individual. That is the United Nations Secretary General that traveled and he was awarded a gold. Remember that the current United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee in this terrorist government is living on double jeopardy. He's living on two salaries. The salary paid by the United Nations and the salary paid by this terrorist individual that has been in power for 36 years. He has been in power for 36 years. And now he just secured another 7 years term. Remember, he's living mentally, he's mentally deranged. He's incoherent, he's mentally challenged. He's not aware of reality. I think our better psychiatrist will be able to describe him more better than I do. He's mentally deranged. He's mentally challenged. He is not aware of his surroundings. He is not even recall his children's name. He doesn't even recall the wife's name. He simply doesn't even recall the office he came out from. You can see his behavior. It's more of aloof. His behavior is that not of a coherent person or coherent individual. He's more of a terrorist. And one will wonder whether is he aware of what he is doing. But there are surrounding people within his midst that secure him and use his identity for the ongoing atrocity that is going on in the Southern Cameroon. But however, we live in a world that ignore reality, but full more on corruptions. That is him. This guy, they call Antonio Guterres. I wish President Bill Clinton is back into power. What Bill Clinton did with Brutus Gali, when the corrupted Egyptian was at the United Nations head, Bill Clinton said, not on my watch. Bill Clinton said, not on my watch, I will have this corrupted individual at the helm of the United Nations. Bill Clinton immediately forced him out, and a better person came in. Kofi Annan, that time to reform the system. Today we have this guy, the most corrupted individual at the helm of the United Nations. One will expect the world community to stand for judgment, but unfortunately, since he has secured their bribery and their money is going directly into their pocket, once those are secure, it's not a matter of the world community. It's not a matter of the world community, because bribery is the worst thing. And guess who is affected? you and I, the indigenous community around the planet. That is why he makes sure he has his own package ready to hand over whenever they come their way. You remember the famous OAU Secretary General? He was traveling to La Republique. One would expect him to come out with something good and righteous. But unfortunately, as soon as he stepped out of the airport, he was immediately allotted a package, the OAU Secretary General. One would expect him, but unfortunately, Africa, this current leadership throughout the world are the most corrupted system one can ever envisage. But however, the people of Southern Cameroon shall overcome. Let's listen to.
Viendra clore cette audience d'une trentaine de minutes dont rien malheureusement ne va filtrer.
That's Antonio Guterres. At the helm of the United Nations, one will expect them to respect their own document. One will expect them to respect their own document.
La lutte héroïque que mène notre pays contre la secte terroriste Boko Haram et la mise en œuvre complète de la.
Of course, one will expect them to do judgment. You will expect United Nations to do something reasonable because the current United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in La Republique is living on the salary, on double salary. The salary paid by La Republique and the salary paid by the United Nations. That is why whatever is happening, no report is being written. No report is being written telling exactly what is happening. But that is the corrupted world we live in. And that is why we need a changing world. Because in this current environment, people will be the ones suffering. And those reward themselves because they move in a golden house. They live in a golden building. And on behalf of the people that are suffering. Imagine. Let's go further. I think the United States need to do something. The United States can do something. This is simple to curb the atrocity that is going on. It's to simply recognizing the people of Southern Cameroon as a defined people within a defined destiny. By recognizing them and helping them is the way to move forward. By so doing, that is the way we can move forward. The people have demonstrated, the people have shown, the people have inspired that they can in any circumstances. The U.S. ambassador has demonstrated that the people do not want to live together with La Republique. You can't force La Republique to live with the people of Southern Cameroon with two separate cultural identity, political identity, philosophy, government, what form, and vision. Our vision is contrary to La Republique. Our democratic form of government is contrary to La Republique. And we can, in any circumstances, even if you allow us to live, even under whatever structure, we can live together. We are people of self-determination. Our people of personal vision. Whereas La Republique, no. We have the ability to question who decide on who should rule us. And we have this ability. United States must do the right thing. Recognizing the people of Southern Cameroon. That is the way to move forward. That is the only way to move forward. United States, the White House, that is what they can do. Recognizing the people of Southern Cameroon. And that they should be a sovereign nation. And by recognizing them as a sovereign nation, that is always simple. That is simple. And the crisis will dissolve. The crisis will dissolve. You all see, the people are demonstrating worldwide. And people come out, people of different ethnic background, ethnic race, coming to support the people of Southern Cameroon as a distinctive people of distinctive character.
Paul Biya au téléphone avant de venir en Union africaine. D'abord parce que je savais qu'il ne serait pas présent. Comme je visitais un de ses voisins,
He says he met Biya.
nous ayons un échange. Écoutez, nous avons parlé des grands sujets en cours. Le Cameroun a clairement un défi.
He spoke to Paul Biya before heading to Nigeria. He spoke to Paul Biya before heading to Nigeria to secure the Nigerian military. That is why our citizens were adopted. The cabinet of Ayuso Seko were adopted because of this terrible individual that is causing atrocity in the African continent. Fellow Africa, if you allow to engage with France, we are in a chaos scene because France is not for the interest of Africa. France is not. France is not for the interest of Africa. And that is why our people want to stay alone. They want to live their own self-determination. They want to be on their own. They don't want to be detected by France. France needs to concentrate on their own. Remember what was happening in Ivory Coast. France was busy bombing Ivory Coast in the midst of the night. France military were busy bombing because they opposed the decision of France. Equatorial Guinea, they wanted to produce their own currency. France is opposing it because France wants their own decision to be made. Why can't they have their own currency? Why can't they determine their future? When France determines their own currency, because it's the source of their exploitation. Because it is the source of their exploitation. Fellow Africans, we are at war. Fellow Africans, if we continue to romance with this French government, we will never head to nowhere. We will never develop. We will never develop. This is imperative. This is a matter of a priority. But our people of Southern Cameroon, they must move forward with their self-identity.
Une visite à même de donner une nouvelle impulsion à la coopération mutuellement avantageuse entre la France et la sous-région en général et le Nigeria et la France en particulier.
That was where he went to secure the...
Les deux chefs d'État a été marqué par trois grands sujets.
That is when he went to Nigeria. He went to Nigeria. One would expect he went there for the economic interest between the two countries, Nigeria and France. No, the essence he traveled to Nigeria is to secure the Southern Cameroon territory, secure Nigerian military, to repatriate the people of Southern Cameroon to the terrorist government of La Republique. Fellow United Nations, our people deserve to remain their own entity. They remain their own independent, our own government. We don't want to deal with France any longer. We don't want to deal with France any longer. We don't want to deal with France. We don't. We want our own government that our people can deserve, and not this manipulative French authority in Africa. Africa hasn't developed to what it will expect because France would rather have Paul Biya because what you imagine that there was a planned election going on in Cameroon. There was a planned election going on in neighboring country, Cameroon. France already invited. The election was to take place on October 7, 2018. Whereas Emmanuel Macron already invited Biya in November. He was so ashamed to even ask him to come to France. He was so ashamed. Do you know that? He was so ashamed because you cannot be inviting someone in November when election is taking place in that country. You must be psych. You must be psych. That is why. That is why. And then he was so embarrassed about it, he didn't even welcome him. He ignored it because he knew the impact. Because he invited him, because he already knew pre-rigged elections. That is why France keep on destabilizing Africa. Africa never progressed. Africa never developed because of the French influence. Because of the French influence.
Contre l'insécurité dans la sous-région,
yes.
le développement économique et la culture.
Economic.
Our our discussions on
I'm sure Nigeria is watching. I'm sure Nigeria will choose this individual for the next election.
The economy of the region and how it can be successfully and politically integrated.
Yes.
Le président Maurice l'a dit, nous avons...
One will expect a young individual that is a young person. He is more vested with African society. But unfortunately, he is absolutely wrong. Fellow Africans, as you engage, you have to think twice. African first. President Trump speaks his language. One will be think he is very egoistic. No, Donald Trump speaks the truth.
J'ai eu Paul Biya au téléphone avant de venir en Union africaine. D'abord parce que je savais...
Fellow brothers, fellow Abazonian, we gotta move forward. We gotta defend our people. We cannot live together with this Republique. It is imperative that the world recognize that the people of Southern Cameroon has got enough. Our people has got enough. We have a better future for our brothers and sisters. Our future to define the economic good for the common good of the people of Southern Cameroon. France can never come and build the nation that we expect. All of us can do that. We can define a better future of our people. And we can do this if we can let go La Republique, because La Republique is more of a headache to us than the good of our people. La Republique is a headache, you know. I can imagine that if in 1961 that the British didn't cause this mess, we move forward, we would have been one of the exemplary places on the African continent, because we has demonstrated the spirit of an elected government in 3 instances. La Republique has never demonstrated. You all seen, Ahidjo was in power for 25 years. Ahidjo, he was in power for 25 years. You know why I show France? France is the architect that is causing destabilizing African continent. Because they believe that having the old individual is much better than having a new incoming individual. And that is why Kabila is destabilizing Congo. Kabila is destabilizing Congo. The United Nations is there for their own self-interest. You remember when the truck had an accident, you saw what were coming out of the United Nations truck. It was a mineral. It was mineral. A mineral that the United Nations was transporting from Congo. That is why a democratic government and effective government cannot prevail, because the United Nations is more interested on the mineral that they benefit and they destabilize nations. That is why they never focus on peace, coexistence. The United Nations doesn't focus on the peace of any nations, because once there is peace, it cut off the revenue, the benefit. It cut off the revenue, the benefit. And that is why a destabilized nation is to the productive of the United Nations. That is why the world doesn't seem to understand. A destabilized country is the profit for United Nations. And that is why if Congo is more stabilized, then the revenue that the United Nations gain will absolutely out of their pocket. And so therefore they make sure that they continue to persuade and destabilize Congo rather than for the interest of the people of Congo. And that is why our fellow brothers and sisters, United Nations is not for the interest of human dignity, even though we are crying that they need to intervene. The fact is they are more interested of their own self-interest. Just imagine that while in La Republique, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees is living on a salary paid by La Republique and another salary paid by United Nations. That is why he drives fabulous car in La Republique, because no one is there to expose him. No one is there to expose. So long as the United Nations is keeping on feeding his pocket with all this bribery. That is why the world just remains silent. One will expect the British government to do something. One will expect them. I will expect the British government to immediately terminate the Commonwealth relationship that exists with La Republique. They can. They can. They can. They can. They're speaking about British exit to the European Union. But they don't see Southern Cameroon share the same common value that they can exit from La Republique. In fact, they are more interested of the natural gas exploitation. That is what the British is interested in. The natural gas exploitations. Rather than the indigenous people. Imagine Southern Cameroon. Imagine that the British Parliament acknowledged that over how many thousands of people are in Nigeria are fled. What relationship does the people of Southern Cameroon have with La Republique? It's just a common cohabiting relationship. Cohabiting. That is what they have. A cohabiting relationship. No document specified. Pobia, in his personal decree, signed and abolished the people of Southern Cameroon and clear a way called the La Republique, as though the people of Southern Cameroon is non-existent. It's non-existent. And we have a certain individual among us, because they benefit from that atrocity. They benefit from it. And they don't want to speak on behalf of the people of Southern Cameroon. They have the audacity to file a lawsuit here in the United States because they want to take advantages of the United States and ignore the factual reality. But I am here to let the world know that the people of Southern Cameroon will no longer succumb to those individuals. You all listen because I post some of the messages on my Facebook. People turn a blind eye. They don't want to see the truth. Because the benefit and the people of citizens of Southern Cameroon become non-beneficiary. They become the non-beneficiary in their own territory, in where they were born. They grew up. Now they're living in a discarded lifestyle. A life that doesn't worth it. In their own home, in their own birth home, birthright, environment that they were born. La Republique is living a fabulous life in their territory. They have the audacity to send their military to come and kill our citizens, our brothers and sisters, because they want to force our people to remain part of La Republique. And that is what the world needs. They want the people of Southern Cameroon to be part of La Republique. Yes, so that France can easily have access to the material, raw material. That's all French want. access to raw material that is a deposit in the Southern Cameroon for their own personal interest, while the citizens apparently doesn't even live on a half penny. Citizens are living without even a single dollar a day, which is 500 francs, the local currency of La Republique. The citizens don't even have it. But France has the audacity to have the Southern Cameroon remain part of La Republique so that they can have access to drain the resources and build the French mansion so that they can live a fabulous life and benefit Africa, the dullest people on the planet. How France will not grow and let Africa become the dullest people on the planet. Yes, but I am here to let the world know that in an aspect of world that they turn a blind eye over the reality. But fellow citizens of the world, fellow citizens in this wonderful great nation, the United States, our people deserve to be recognized as a nation. And that is where we can move forward. By doing so, we can make a difference on the world community. I want to take a moment to thank all of you for the time that I've spent using all your time. But the spirit of the people of Southern Cameroon will move forward. Wish you all a happy and wonderful Sunday. This is Funton Daniel speaking here from the great state of Texas, here in the United States. The people of Southern Cameroon, I love you all. I can't live without you until you all are free. God bless.